Yo guys, Mike for Sim Racing 604. Say hello for the first time to the Formula Hybrid X 2026 mod for Assetto Corsa. This one is by Racing Studio and is their interpretation of what a Formula One car might look like in 2 years' time when Formula One switches to the new regulations. The new regulations, I'll dive a bit into it in a moment when we jump into the side-by-side with the outgoing model, but generally the cars are going to be lighter, smaller, and a bit more nimble, which hopefully will produce more wheel-to-wheel racing. This is what Racing Studio imagines that car could look like. So again, a deep dive into the 2026 regulations produced this car. We haven't yet seen any of the manufacturer's 2026 car, so we can't imagine this will look exactly like any of the teams on the grid in 2026, but still a probably very close comparison to what we'll see on track in 2 years' time. So very soon I'm going to drive it, but first let's have a look in another showroom. We'll do a side-by-side with the outgoing car and talk a bit more about the regulations from a very high level and talk about the comparison to the outgoing Formula One cars. All right, so here in the Content Manager showroom, having a look at the X 2026, the newest imagining of the RSS team for the Formula Hybrid. And as you can see, tremendous detail here. And if you're wondering what makes the 2026 car different than the outgoing 2025, what will be next year, the 2025, of course, or what you're used to from 2022 onward, let's go ahead and add another car here. And there we have it. Let us scroll over here, slide the two a little bit closer together. There we are. So, somewhat difficult to see here, but this is a narrower car. That's the 2026 on your left there. And it is a narrower car, slightly narrower tires and shorter. We should be able to see that hopefully here if we go overhead. Yeah, you can see it's a little bit shorter. So the net loss is about 30 kilograms of weight. Bringing this down to the 770 kilogram range. Overall, obviously a lot of similarities. This isn't a complete overhaul. You can see the bodywork change near the front wheels here. There are some mandatory pieces up front, but they've got rid of these front arches here. You can see those arches, and those will be gone for the 2026 regs. Front and rear active aero here. They're getting rid of the DRS system as we know it. They'll be going to X mode or active aero. And instead of the DRS rules we've got used to, you'll be able to flip the car into X mode. And that gives you a little bit of a little bit less drag on the straights, and it'll be applied to all straightaways over 3 seconds, I believe. So that's exciting. What else can we talk about? If we go overhead here, you can see the redesign, and this is not necessarily a literal interpretation of what every car is going to look like in 2026, but you can see the side pods here, quite a bit different. How can we get that angle best? You can see how cutaway it is here. So, yeah, and we look at the rear wing. It's a slimmer rear wing. And again, you can see those slimmer tires. So yeah, and this will be equipped with a boost mode for kind of a push to pass system, if you will. So some exciting things going into this 2026. And yeah, you can see it again in comparison to the outgoing current generation of Formula Hybrid in this case. But of course, this will be applied to Formula One in the real world in about 2 years' time. Actually, in 2 years' time, we'll be nearing the end of the season. So yeah, smaller, lighter, could produce better wheel-to-wheel racing. We hope. That's always the hope, I suppose, of every new iteration of Formula One. And we'll see if that plays out here. But a beautiful-looking car, by all measure here, has been put together by Racing Studio. So let's go ahead and take it for a spin on track. Okay, so here we are in the pits at Imola, and a lot of you might be thinking by now, why isn't he talking about the powertrain? The biggest differences in 2026 come to the powertrain. This is true, So we'll talk about it now. It's a bit easier to demonstrate the changes to the powertrain on track. So lots to talk about here. Let's go ahead and get rolling here. So what we have first off is MGUK deploy, and I'm going to go ahead and set that to, where do I want to set it? No deploy, just to get warmed up. We also have engine map settings here in the Formula Hybrid 2026 or X 2026. It's right now set on 0, so basically I've got it at its lowest power setting. And this is probably the only time you will ever hear me describe a Formula 1 car as sluggish. And the reason being is the internal combustion engine, the ICE, actually doesn't have a ton of power. It's going to come in somewhere in the 400 to 500 horsepower range, and honestly, that's not a very impressive figure. Now, granted, the car weighs under 800 kilograms, so 500 horsepower would go a long way normally, but we're talking about Formula 1 here. Formula 1 is known to have a ton of power, and you can see I am full throttle here, and just kind of slowly, comparatively slowly, making my way up that hill. So, why the big downgrade in power? Why does a Formula 1 car feel sluggish? Well, it's because it is so much more dependent on the battery deploy, the MGUK. So, we have about 350 kilowatts of power on tap now, and that is represented here in this Formula Hybrid X 2026. By the way, I'm kind of talking in future tense, but hopefully you understand what I'm saying. So we have a lot more dependency on the electrical systems, and that battery will charge in part by taking some of the sustainable fuel that this car will run on. So a lot to think about there, but just know that the power is split basically 50-50 between electrical energy and internal combustion engine, meaning, and the total is going to be somewhere around the 1,000 horsepower range peak, so meaning that the internal combustion engine will be 500 or less horsepower. Interesting to think about. So again, feeling a little bit sluggish here, nothing too impressive at this point. However, let's go ahead and start to dial this up a little bit, see if we can't push this car just slightly. We don't have heat in the tires yet, but we will get there. Engine map now set to 1, so we should see those lap times really start to fall. And some of you may have heard beeping sound. What is that? Well, it's the DRS sound app for Assetto Corsa, but it's coming up at funny times, isn't it? The reason being, listen, there we go, DRS beep again. Is this a DRS straightaway? Well, it is now, and we're not calling it DRS anymore because it's not DRS anymore. While it is a drag reduction system technically, but it's not DRS as we think about it with the whole 1 second gap to the opponent, blah, blah, blah. This is active aero. This is X mode, as they call it. So a low drag mode that you can put the car into basically on any straight more than about 3 seconds long. So it's going to come up several times here in this lap of Imola. If you're wondering, well, how do I make my Assetto Corsa do that? Well, thankfully RaceSim Studio has your back. RaceSim Studio has included a number of files to add to your Kunos tracks. I think there's about 8 or 10 tracks in total where this could be applied to, and unapplied if you wish. If you don't like it, you can always go back. And what you get from that is the updated DRS zones. This is RaceSim Studio's best attempt at guessing what the DRS zones will look like in 2026. Yeah, including this. So DRS open, you see that speed climb there. We're getting up to 270, so still not blistering, I wouldn't say, but we're getting there. And I have one more trick up my sleeve, but I got to save it for later in the lap. So let's go ahead and dial this up a bit more. Didn't want to be in 5th gear there, that's okay. So we will go to a balanced delivery here, try and sustain some battery. Let's go all the way up with our engine map. So we should be getting a great deal of power now, getting the most out of the internal combustion engine, and also getting a lot of help from the electric motors. Alright, so we're going to listen to this DRS beep. I mentioned I have one more trick up my sleeve, and that is the KERS button. I have it mapped. There's basically a push-to-pass system, so if I push it, watch that speed. Look at that, 350 kilometers an hour from about 310 in a matter of seconds. Absolutely blistering there. So yeah, that push-to-pass system is going to be quite something. I'm going to see on the next time around just how fast I can get this. Now that the sort of cat is out of the bag, you know that that's coming. Let's push. Let's see what we can do. Let's see what kind of impressive top speed we can get out of this Hybrid X 2026. And again, you hear that DRS zone there, or you hear the DRS beep rather, indicating we're in the DRS zone. So you've seen that my speed has quite drastically increased over the past couple of laps. So as we open up that battery energy, that electrical energy, the electric motor a bit more, this thing can absolutely fly. And again, that 30 kilometer difference, what am I saying? That 30 kilogram difference, I should say, you know, certainly not nothing. Especially considering we're still in the 1,000 horsepower range total. All right, let's see what we can do here. DRS open, let's get it up to 8th gear. We're pushing, we are rapidly losing electrical energy. 375, I couldn't even look. I was watching my braking zone, but I think that was near 380 kilometers an hour. So now we have to build, whoops. We have to build up our electrical stores again. So it's going to be really interesting if RaceSim Studio is at all on the mark here about the performance of these cars. 2026 should be very exciting. 2025, frankly, should be exciting. I think there's a lot of interesting storylines, and it's going to be a tight field. And 2026 new regs, could it be exciting? Absolutely. Could we be seeing a 6-time world champion Max Verstappen by then? Quite possibly. Could the 1-2 punch of Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton do something at Ferrari? Absolutely they could. Could Lance Stroll finally have his breakout year and get his first driver's championship? Probably not. But we'll see. Wish everyone the best of luck out there. All right, let's go for a lap here. Let's go for a proper lap. High deploy. It's actually a quali deploy. This is going to deplete me very, very fast. Ooh. Oh, I thought that might happen. Way too much power to those tires. No point burning any electrical stores here. Let's just build this up on this lap, and then we'll go for another. Try and not get too wild next time. Quali mode feels pretty crazy from first impressions. That was my first time opening it up in quali mode. It's interesting getting used to these short DRS zones, or active aero, X mode zones, whatever we're going to end up calling them. Because my mind is so trained on where those zones are based on previous years. It's like having to learn the track again in some respects. But super cool that RaceSim Studio has included that. By the way, if you do decide that this Formula Hybrid X 2026 is for you, there's a link in the description with an affiliate code, and it would help support the channel. Thank you so much to all the people who've done it already. I only released one video with it, but already the turnout has been incredible, so thank you so much. All right, here we go. Let's go, Mikey. I need to watch myself here. I got caught out almost immediately last time. Quali mode is wild. This is a lot. I've been driving Formula hybrids for many years now, and this feels like perhaps the craziest mode I have ever driven one of these cars in. Oh, I took that corner poorly. Still up almost a full second, or 0.8 anyway. Oh, this is not going to re-up. I knew it. Quali mode is not meant for a driver of my skill level. Let's just go for a nice, healthy, balanced, safe lap next time. This is likely still going to turn out to be my reference lap because I'm up 1 1/3 seconds. But let's see what we can do next lap, just the same. .360, that's good enough. Wow. What a car. DRS zone. Timing was okay. Oh, we're down time. We're down a lot of time here. But I think we're only down, yeah, of course we're only down time to the previous lap with the party mode enabled. So we are up time here. Good chance to set a PB. This will be a PB. We don't have much in the way of battery, but let's try it here. Let's go for quali. Can I deliver a lap? Doubtful. We'll see though. And it is so fast. Oof, come on, Mike, get around there. You can see those lights on the dash as well, indicating when we have entered one of those X mode zones. Whew. And look at that time. Half a second up. Are you kidding me? And whatever little stores we have, we'll burn through with Kurs. And there we go. 1:23, not the greatest time. I'm far from a great driver, but just the same. Yeah. Just goes to show you the power of this car with full deploy. Absolutely rapid. And we can turn everything off again. Do some recovery here while I give final thoughts. So the X 2026, absolutely brilliant. It's so cool to look into the future of Formula One like this. How close will they actually get to this? Who knows? Who knows? Things can change, certainly in 2 years' time, or let's call it a year's time, before the teams are in heavy development mode, actually putting prototypes on track, or concepts on track, better phrased. But I think this will be pretty close. And what a car. What a car. I really think this is one of Race Sim Studio's finest works. Just brilliant to explore this. It's, obviously current generation adjacent, but it's different enough to keep things fresh. It's an interesting look at potentially the future of what Formula One could be. So I'm super impressed with this X 2026. But with that, I'm going to bring it into the pits here at Imola, and that will be good enough for this video. So thank you so much for watching. Enjoy this replay, and we'll see you next time.